Welcome to Feed the Blender. Alrighty, welcome to another episode of Feed the Blender. As always, your host here, Shmeeb. Got my main man Zerch here, and the third of the trio, KZ. Welcome, man.
Uh-oh.
You're
trouble.
Yeah, no kidding. Today we're going to be breaking down the Central Division. But before we get into that, some news came out yesterday from Woj. Ben Simmons and the Philadelphia 76ers have reached a settlement agreement on the grievance the All-Star guard filed to recoup a portion of the nearly $20 million that was withheld from him as a result of his failure to play in games in the 2021 and 2022 season. Basically, Philly's paying him back for games he missed, practices he missed. Kind of a weird time. Kind of wild to see Ben Simmons winning this one. I really didn't think he had grounds, but Zach,
I don't really understand that one. I mean, I have to show up to work to get paid. If I don't show up to work, I don't get paid. And I mean, he got, what was it, 20 million you said, right?
That's what he missed out. It's going to be somewhere down the middle is what I've seen.
Interesting. I wonder how much of that is deducted from like the guaranteed money, because I think his salary last year was like 35 or 32 million a year. So if he were to get like close to 20 for like all of the time that he missed is ridiculous.
I believe the 32 mil, I'm assuming he got some sort of guaranteed, which was that 12 mil. And then the 20 mil is what
the difference is,
essentially. Yeah. So
yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's stupid. I was really hoping Philly was going to hold strong on that, but I'm sure the players' union's been having a meltdown about the entire thing since Simmons claimed it was all due to like mental health and stuff like that. So
yeah, we'll see. Maybe he can swindle Brooklyn out of some money too while he's at it.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Unless KZ, you have anything to talk about Ben Simmons, I think we can just jump right in here.
No, I think I'm in complete agreement with you two. So.
All right, cool. Yeah, so we'll start off with Zerch's home team, the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, man, it'll be an interesting season, that's for sure. Obviously, for like off-season signings, the biggest thing that we did was we re-signed Zach LaVine, 5 years, $215 million. Had off-season surgery in his left knee. I'm not super concerned about it. He was still playing in the playoffs last year. Like, he'll be fine. He'll come back super, super healthy, which is huge. I was really glad that they brought him back. I think it would have been a big like FU to the Chicago fan base if they wouldn't have done that.
Right.
And then out of obviously notable signings, we signed Goran Dragic from the Nets and Andre Drummond, both of which I think are on league minimum. I know Drummond is for sure. I'm not 100% sure for Dragic. But I think it'll be good. Dragic will be huge for the second unit, come in, facilitate, just get other guys going, which I think will be really important. We definitely lacked that last year with the amount of injuries that we had off the bench, or just injuries in general. We were, forcing Io, who was probably predicted to play no more than 15 minutes a game last year, who was, I think he started in like over 30 of them.
Yeah, he was the first part of that rotation.
Yeah. So I think it'll be good to have that like veteran presence in the locker room, especially for that second unit. I took the Andre Drummond signing with a grain of salt. I mentioned it on obviously our last podcast here, but I was really hoping that they were going to make a play for Mitchell Robinson, just to have that, that devil's advocate to compare. Like, you have Vooch and who can kind of spread the floor and hit threes, and then you have Mitchell Robinson, which is your stereotypical center. So that's tough. I'll take Drummond. I really just hope he comes in, plays 20 minutes a game, 20, 25 minutes, gives Vooch some rest, and he just comes in, cleans glass, and gets blocks. So nothing really past that is all I want out of him. We re-signed Derrick Jones Jr. I'm indifferent on that. I don't really care. I don't think he brings a whole lot to the table offensively. The only thing he does is he's got an energy guy off the bench since he yams.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's the main thing is that dude gets up.
Yeah,
Probably
and then,
better than 99% of the league, which is
yeah,
saying a lot.
yeah, which is awesome for like momentum off the bench and stuff like that. But I
And
mean,
for Instagram highlights.
yeah, facts. But I mean, I've heard rumors that they like want to try and run a small ball lineup with him at the 5, and it's just like this guy is 6'6" and he's thin. I understand what you're trying to do,
Right.
but I just don't think that he's the right guy to try and run a small ball lineup with. I'm not sold on Patrick Williams, but I'd rather see him at least 6'7" play the 5 over Derrick Jones Jr. So
Yeah.
So that's I mean, not a bad offseason, I would say. Again, I really would have preferred for the Robinson pick over Drummond, but I mean, we should have a little bit of cap. I mean, I understand them wanting to save the cap space for Levine, so I support what they did there. Obviously, I think our starting rotation is the same as what it was last year when we started, super hot. So obviously, Lonzo at the 1, Levine at the 2, DeMar at the 3, Pat Williams at the 4, and then Vooch at the 5. I really just want to see this team or these starters play 60 games together this year, because it's crazy that we were the 1 seed going into the All-Star break, and then Lonzo got hurt, Caruso got hurt, and we were just banged up from that point forward, and then we finished at, I think, a 6 seed. So that's been tough. Let's take a look. I think my biggest question mark on this entire team is what is going to happen with Patrick Williams this year.
Yeah.
He only played in 17 games last year. He's going on his 3rd year in the league, and he's only played in a total of 82 games. All of the podcasts that I listen to of either like Zach Lowe or Wendy,
Yeah.
and I've been tuned into this CHGO Bulls podcast. Everybody's super big on him, and I just don't know if I'm sold.
That's the general census in Chicago is everyone's huge on him, but I like you have not seen enough to be fully convinced, nor have I seen what the minimum threshold should be for a player. I mean, he's really given Chicago fans absolutely nothing to work with.
Right. Yeah, and he'll be really interesting. I mean, his numbers last year obviously didn't play a ton, but 9 points per game, 4 boards, 1 assist, shot 53% from the field, and shot 52% from 3, which is interesting for a 4. I've heard he's had a pretty good like off season so far, and he's really like working on the jumper and like getting to his spots in the mid range, which is sweet. I hope to see him like closer to like that like 14 to 15 points per game marker if they're seriously going to consider keeping him around.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think he's the biggest question mark. Everybody else had really good seasons last year outside of Vucevic. Vucevic had a career low in 3-point percentage last year.
Yeah, he did.
Typically shoots like the higher. Yeah, he typically shoots like closer to the higher 39% range, and last year he shot 31. So I mean, if he can figure that out, and then having like a pick and roll opportunity, or I mean, Levine and DeMar are going to get doubled. So I mean, if you're staying open and you can hit your shots, I mean, it's a completely different ball game.
And one thing I'll quickly add about Vooch, obviously small sample size in that Milwaukee series, but I actually think he looked every bit the part of what kind of player they thought they were bringing in that playoff series.
Yeah, he just couldn't hit shots. Like they just weren't.
I mean, he was actually hitting shots just fine in that series. Like I said, I mean, in that series specifically, it seemed as if he found his shooting stroke again, and hopefully that carries on into next year for you guys.
Yep, I agree. I'm really hoping that he just kind of returns back. Like, I don't need him to be an all-star. I just need him to average like that 15 to 18 points per game, while, you know, some of the other supporting cast guys being Lonzo, Williams, Caruso, Io. I'm pretty hyped on Dalen Terry, I'm not going to lie.
Good.
He's had like pretty good like pro-ams, and he had a good summer league.
Yeah.
I saw he dropped like 56 in a pro-am, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
It's no 92 by Peyton Pritchard, but you know what? It'll do.
Oh, what was it? 69 by Kyle Kuzma recently in a pro-am game in Washington.
I think it was 76. I think
was it that much? Devin Booker status right here.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty high on the Bulls next year. Obviously, I'm a little biased. They are, as we all know, my favorite team. For a player that I think is going to take the next step, I think that Levine and DeMar are going to like flop roles on this team. I think DeMar is going to really not take the step back, but I think those like late game situations, we're going to really look to like give Levine the ball and let him like go into, under 2 minutes, 5-point game. Let's have this kid go to work. That way, like we as an organization are giving him the keys to the castle.
So you think he's going to take that role of the closer then that DeMar played last year?
Yeah, I mean, their numbers were pretty similar last year.
I was going to say, in the clutch, they're actually really similar players.
Yeah. So last year, Levine averaged 24.5 points per game, and DeMar averaged 28. So I honestly think that those two are going to flop this year. I think Levine's going to take on like the heavier scoring load, and he's going to just really like solidify that like this is his team, and DeMar's here to be his Robin rather than vice versa. And then outside of Patrick Williams, my player, and I don't want this to be the case by any means, I'm really nervous about Lonzo going into next year.
Yeah, you had mentioned that you thought that Chicago kind of took a dip after Lonzo went out. People have said that it's got nothing to do with Lonzo. It's just Chicago's schedule ended up being way harder in the back half. How much of that do you buy into, and how much do you actually think Lonzo Ball is the answer to Chicago's struggles towards that back half of the season last year?
So, I mean, there's a couple of things. I thought when Lonzo got hurt, we really lacked offensively from a person who can come in and facilitate and run the offense.
Right.
It was
also, over 40% from three, correct? Like he had a great year from three.
42.
42, yeah.
Yeah, huge year.
Wow.
He averaged 13 points a game, 5 assists, 5 boards, 2 steals, and then 42% from field goal and from 3-point. So, like, not bad. Only played half the year. But, I mean, we really missed that, like, organizational piece of, like, all right, Lonzo's going to bring the ball up. He's going to either push in transition or he's just going to bring the ball up slowly and run the offense. That way DeMar and Levine can run off the ball. They can get open, and then they can get to their spots. Whereas all too often, and as we saw in the Milwaukee series, it was just Lamar and Levine bringing the ball down and going straight into ISO ball. Yeah, sorry, Lamar.
Yeah, you're good.
All too often, we saw them just dribbling the ball down the court and going into ISO and putting up a non-ideal shot for DeMar. He hits those, but it just not how I want to run my offense. And then defensively, everybody who says that Lonzo wasn't that important to the Bulls' success last year, I think is on some shit. The Bulls were a top 10 defensive team going into the All-Star break. Lonzo got hurt right before the All-Star break, and we finished 30th in the league from a defensive perspective when it came to giving up the most points per game. So yes, Caruso did miss probably 8 to 10 weeks with his like wrist injury.
Yeah, which is another huge loss that you guys will look back. I mean, Caruso, another guy that's going to shoot high 30s percentile in 3-point shots, and he's also going to defend 1 through 3.
Yeah, and losing both of those guys didn't help. Losing both of them at the same time wasn't ideal.
No,
but I mean,
there goes all your guard defense.
Okay, right. We're going to throw the rookie who's like just trying to get established in this league. We're going to have him go up and guard the top
rookie who can't go last.
So yeah, I really think. I mean, Lonzo's my biggest question mark out of everything on this team because I mean I've heard there were rumors going into the playoffs that he was going to be ready, and then suddenly those rumors became super, super cold. And I've seen tweets as of late that he's barely going to be ready for camp.
They've gotten actually progressively worse, which I can't remember a case where we've seen this, where a player was projected, as you said, to come back at a certain time that season. And then the news of their injury and their injury recovery has just gotten progressively worse. And now it's a question mark what his timeline is basically.
Yeah, no, completely agree. So that's where I'm at with the Bulls. I think they'll probably finish at either the 5, 4, or 6 seed. I think they're in contention with definitely Cleveland. And I mean, I couldn't even really throw another team up there right now.
I put them right around where Atlanta, I think, is going to be.
Yeah, I guess I feel like it's going to be between Atlanta, Cleveland, and Chicago to steal that 4 spot, I think.
Yeah. And as far as what I have, Chicago, to me, is a low to mid 40s win team. I did want to touch on Lonzo really quick. As you said, huge loss. People aren't treating it as if it's as big of a loss as it was. The thing Lonzo brings to the game, obviously the shot is the 3-point shot has gotten progressively better over his career. That's, on paper, that's pretty obvious to one of the first things that jumps off the page. But it's the 10 points that he's going to get you that are all backdoor cuts that he sees and can make that pass over his defender. Those are where I actually think Chicago hurt the most. Was, again, Lonzo's vision on the court is so
unreal,
so above the average at that position. Like I said, he can get you 10 easy points throughout a game with just guys doing backdoor cuts.
Yep.
So I think in terms of like a rhythm of an offense, that really hurts a team going into the playoffs. So I too think that Lonzo was a bigger loss than people are making it out to be. I think Chicago is a ton better with Lonzo in their starting lineup than without.
Yeah, agreed. I think we at least now have the depth a little bit with having Dragic to at least come in and run the second unit. And if Lonzo isn't 100% there, like, we do have somebody who can step in and fill that role of running the offense.
And I will claim my props here. I did say Chicago should bring in Dragic, and
I was going for D-Rose, but I'll take it.
Yeah, you were pulling for D-Rose, which I get.
I want him to go on farewell tour.
That'll happen. It's not out of the cake at this point. That's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of question.
Yeah. The only other player I really want to touch on was Javon Freeman Liberty.
Big E shout out.
I believe my second. There will be a third today, but my second Big E shout out. Crazy that it's another DePaul player. Makes me a little upset, but guy's a natural scorer. My dad and I watched him all 4 years when he was at DePaul. Senior season ended up averaging close to 22 a game, which was, I believe, top 3 in the Big East. Actually, 7 boards and 3 assists to go along with those 22 points.
3, technically.
Huh?
Is he a 3?
They had him playing the 2. I mean, he's 6'4", I believe. Real wiry guard. Guy can flat out score. I mean, I think he put up something like 26 on Seton Hall in the first half of the game in Chicago that we played them in.
That's tough.
Yeah, from everything I've seen in all the NBA combines, it's going to translate to the next level. So it's kind of, and the good thing about getting a guy like that, they didn't have to use a draft pick, but they brought in a guy that's not only a hometown favorite, but a guy that's played 4 years in college. I think he's 23 years old. They can just bring him in right away, and he's going to play minutes such as Quentin Grimes did in New York when they signed him. So just a nice little tidbit of a young talent on that team. Moving on to Cleveland here, JB Bickerstaff's in his 4th year. They kind of somehow, by the luck of the basketball gods, have pulled themselves out of the LeBron swamp years. LeBron leaves and they go, I don't even know what the record was in 2019, but I'm sure they didn't win more than 20 games that year.
Probably what it was.
They were able to pull themselves out of what for most franchises would be, total rebuild. And they were actually able to kind of flip the script a bit quicker than I guess anyone would have expected, really. I mean,
I never would have imagined them coming close to making the playoffs last year.
Within what, 2 seasons, 2-3 real seasons, they've been able to build this roster that's as deep as anyone in this specific division.
They went 19-46 in the 2019-2020 season.
So there you go. As far as off-season signings, they bring in Ricky Rubio, who they actually traded away to Indiana for the Karis LeVert deal. Gonna add a lot of, facilitating off the bench, second unit guy, veteran. They bring in Robin Lopez, another veteran. An interesting pickup that they got is actually Isaiah Mobley from USC, brother of Evan Mobley. So I guess they're, following the Milwaukee Bucks pattern of, oh, we have a star. Let's get all of his brothers into the mix too to make him happy. As far as this team goes, I mean, they finished something like 48 and some change in losses. They were knocked out of both playing games. They had a nice little run at the end of the year, especially when Karis LeVert started taking up minutes. The biggest question going into the offseason here is, what's Colin Sexton going to do? He's going into his fourth year in Cleveland. He only played 11 games last year. Is he going to be in a Cleveland uniform? And if he is, what is his role on this Cleveland team? This team is looking to make that next step. They already have their lead guard. And we've seen it before in Portland, the two under 6'3" lead guard team, it just doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't translate to postseason wins, unfortunately. And I get the sense that Cleveland's front office is kind of on Colin Sexton at this point. They think they can get what Colin Sexton was producing out of Karis LeVert. One thing to touch on for Colin Sexton that he has going for him, though, is he did average 24 points a game last year, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and shot 37% from 3, 45% from field goal percentage. He's going to be asking for a ton of money. He has been asking for a ton of money. I just don't know if Cleveland's going to take his offer. I get the sense that Cleveland's, again, kind of content with what Karis LeVert brings to the table.
Yeah, I think their training camp this coming season is going to be really interesting to see like what they do with that, because I know you and I have kind of discussed this in the past, but how much of like Darius Garland's very efficient. He's very, very efficient. He gets buckets. He gets to his spots.
Yeah, I believe 38% from 3 last year and 46% from field goal. In
That was his last healthy year, though, that you're referencing, correct? The 2020 season where he played 60 games. The 2021 season, everything was basically halved.
We're talking about Darius Garland.
Oh, I thought we were on Colin Sexton.
Yeah, I referenced.
My caveat is, does Darius Garland's really good year last year and like his significant jump in points per game, is that due to the fact that Sexton only played in 11 games? And they play relatively the same style of basketball.
Yep.
They're both aggressive. They both try and get to the rim. And they
both liabilities on defense too.
That's facts. That is facts. So it's just like how I want to see if they can potentially get these two to mesh together to see if both players and their numbers are going to drop. Because I think it's extremely unlikely that they end up having a Portland situation where you have two of your guards that are averaging north of 20 points a game with a guy like Karis LeVert who can probably be a smaller 3 and also be able to get probably 18 a game out of him. And then you have obviously Jared Allen, or you have the Twin Towers down low. You have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. So I don't know. It's an interesting potential for a starting 5 if they keep Sexton and if they somehow make all of them work together.
That actually brings me to my next point. Cleveland's basically going to run it back with the 3 7-foot lineup.
Yeah.
So having your 2 lead guards in 3 through 5, all 7-footers, having your 2 lead guards be 6'2" and 6'1" respectively, it's just not going to work. Colin Sexton wants a starting role. He's not going to get it. they're going to start Karis LeVert over him, and they're going to start Darius Garland over him, and Sexton's going to want out. The 3 7-footer lineup worked wonders last year.
You talk about like
it's the only reason why Lauri Markkanen still has a career as a starter, as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to talk badly about an NBA player, but I think that dude's a scrub.
It's home.
Yeah, I know it hits home for you.
Drafted him.
You drafted him, yeah.
Drafted him over like Donovan Mitchell, I think, which is fucked to think about.
Right. So Colin Sexton's future is just so uncertain in Cleveland. I wouldn't bank on him being in a Cleveland jersey next year. As far as the starting lineup goes, like I said, I 1 through 5, to me, this is one of the more clear starting fives of any team that we've covered so far. Like I said, I think they're just in run back mode this year because Evan Mobley is that good, and he's only going to get better. I think much like Scotty Barnes, he'll have a all defensive campaign in his second year. He's already top 20 defender in the league. With the duo of Mobley and Jared Allen down low, they're gonna dare you to take it to the paint. They're gonna press up on threes because they know they got these two guys down low that are gonna block anything that comes their way. Evan Mobley, as a rookie, was 6th in the league for blocks per game.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a 4 come in and dominate the way that Evan Mobley has since Tim Duncan. So yeah. Cleveland at this point, they're like, we have a really, really nice thing going here. Let's not ruin this, Yeah,
and they have no reason to, and they're young.
They are, yeah. And in terms of what they need, I think it's just all outside shooting. Isaac Okoro needs to take a step. He needs to be able to knock down open threes. They just need outside shooting. They have all the interior shooting that
they need.
Any team could possibly need, but the outside shot, you can't depend on Darius Garland to do it all.
Right.
That's the only thing that's keeping this team from being a play-in team to top 6 in the conference.
That's fair. Not to completely derail this, but so Lauri Markkanen, that was the 2017 draft class.
And that's Arizona, right?
Huh?
Out of Arizona, right?
Yes, sir. That draft class is probably one of the wildest draft classes that we've seen so far in our life.
Markelle Fultz's draft class?
Yeah, so Fultz, Lonzo, Tatum, Josh Jackson, De'Aaron Fox, Jonathan Isaac, Markkanen. That's the top 7.
A lot of really bad picks.
And then Malik Monk, Luke Kennard, Donovan Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, John Collins, Jared Allen, Kyle Kuzma.
Also is on this Cleveland team.
Who? Jared Allen. Yeah. It was huge for them.
He's great.
He's the starting center, right?
Yeah, and you can't not like this guy. Apparently
out of the 70s, dude. Big dude, stays around the paint, huge afro.
Uses an Android phone, apparently. Apparently all the guys on the team are pissed off because he can't be a part of group chats because it makes it green instead of blue.
Yeah.
I mean, Jared Allen's just like your old-fashioned NBA player. You kind of get one of those every draft class. Kawhi was kind of his, where it's just like no one really knows what this guy's about outside of basketball, but when he's on the court, we all know what he's about. Right. I had Cleveland actually pretty much the exact same as where they were at last year. I think they can maybe move up a couple games, but I have them in the mid 40s competing for another play-in. I don't think they're going to get the outside shooting that they need before the trade deadline. So I just don't see them being anything better than a play-in team. Would you guys feel the same?
I don't know. I think there'll be a safe bet on the bottom side. I mean, I guess playing teams are 7 and 8 too, but
Yeah,
I
it's
can
what,
them,
7, 8, 9, 10?
Yeah, I can see them grabbing the 6th spot and just hanging on to that. Like top 6 from what I'm going to assume in no order is Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, Toronto, Chicago, and Cleveland.
What about Miami?
Yeah, Miami and Atlanta.
Yeah.
Or depending on how this whole Nets debacle.
Yeah, who knows?
The Nets are a huge question mark right now too. I don't know. It'll be an interesting season for the East. Which
that's 15 seed. You heard it here first.
The Nets are the 15 seed.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Everyone leaves.
Could you imagine if they don't pitch like Ben Simmons and Kyrie, and they still somehow like end up getting like the last seed in the East? Like they still get like finish at 15.
Yeah, I think in the last episode I had them. I gifted them 30 wins, but that's very on the high side. And the last thing I'll touch on for Cleveland is young talent. They have this guy off the bench named Dean Wade. I guess Zach Lowe already made a nice D Wade comment about it. I won't go there.
Knock off D Wade.
Yeah, as to not bite off of his style, but look, 4th-year player out of Kansas State, started 28 games last year, averaged just under 20 minutes a game, kind of a glue guy, 6'9" power forward, does a lot of really nice things on the court, shot 36% from 3 on 3 attempts a game. For a big guy that's only playing 20 minutes a game, that's actually pretty damn good. You kind of see one of him on every contending team. So, they'll probably look to him to do the same kind of thing next year, just be that ultimate glue guy, make all the small plays, do all the dirty work, open up the court a bit more for that second unit. And then the obvious young talent, Evan Mobley, 7-foot power forward out of USC. I believe he finished second in the Rookie of the Year voting.
Yeah, he was second behind Scotty Barnes.
As I touched on before, somehow as a rookie was 6th in the league for blocks per game, which is numbers we haven't seen since Tim Duncan. So good.
I think part of that is just due to the fact that like this modern day the NBA doesn't really run to big men like that. And like Jared Allen is a good defender and he's a good slide over help defender. So like, yes, you discussed earlier that Sexton and Garland are weak defensively, which is fine for like the teams that are just trying to get past them, because you have then Allen and Mobley to meet you at realistically the elbow if you're trying to throw up a floater, or if you get past that point you're going to the rim, you have two dudes that are probably 7'3" in wingspan that are going to meet you there. So I don't know. Mobley is a huge question mark for like what he's going to do next year, because like I almost think that he can put up, because what was his points per game last year?
15.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy that, I mean, there's potential for him to jump to like 20 and 10 as a second year player, averaging probably close to like 2 blocks a game or even more than.
Yeah. So like I said, by all means, this guy's going to be competing for an all defensive spot in the league in his second year, which again, we have not seen since Tim Duncan. I cannot stress it enough that the Tim Duncan comparison is so crucial in this, because we don't see power forwards come in and be this dominant right out of the gate, lead their team to the playoffs. There's a direct trend between when they drafted Evan Mobley and before they drafted Evan Mobley. They got light years better. And that's directly due to Evan Mobley being that good on the defensive end and all the offensive stuff. That's A lot of that's pick and roll stuff with Darius Garland. A lot of that's him being in the right spot at the right time. Again, top 20 defender in his first year in the league, which is just nuts.
So my question for you then is who do you think makes an all defensive team first, Evan Mobley or Scotty Barnes?
There's room for both.
I mean, there is room for both.
There's three all defensive teams.
Who gets one first, or do they both get one at the same time?
I think it's realistic that they both get all defensive nominees.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but there's a ton you could say about Evan Mobley, but it's already all been said. Moving on to Detroit here. This is kind of I put them as the East's equivalent to Houston. I think they're about as intriguing of a team as you can possibly get for a low 20s win team. Look, Dwayne Casey in his fourth year in Detroit actually had him playing really solid basketball. This team, obviously, ceiling is probably playing at best.
A generous
ceiling.
10.
Yeah, generously putting them as a play-in team. I don't think they're going to be more than a high 20s, low 30s win team, but we'll see. Stranger things have definitely happened, and the East is kind of one of those conferences where you can chalk at least one team up to just having a fluke year, and Detroit could be that. Who knows? They lose Jeremiah Grant to Portland in the offseason. Made up a ton of points. They're going to have to replace that. But they did draft very strongly this year. They bring in Jaden Ivey out of the University of Purdue, go Boilermakers, as the 5th pick overall. They're looking for him and Cade to be the 2 lead guards. Great duo, actually, with great size too, because Cade's like 6'6", 6'7", and Jaden Ivey is 6'4". You're going to ask Jaden Ivey to play off the ball, which he did a ton at Purdue. This draft pick and Jaden Ivey is actually like a homecoming, essentially. They wanted him in Detroit. He wanted to be in Detroit. It's kind of the perfect marriage. This guy's going to play super hard for them, and who knows? I mean, he's going to get the opportunity in his rookie year. Who knows what he's going to average this year, and who knows what he's going to do.
They drafted a big too, right?
Jalen Duren out of Memphis. Probably the best center in college basketball last year. This guy kind of is bred from that same cloth that Isaiah Stewart's bred from, where it's like, yeah, dog mentality. You're not coming into my paint and getting one up easy. I'm either following the shit out of you or I'm sending it back. So Detroit's big situation right now is actually as good as really anyone. I mean, they're pretty deep, and with the rumors of them trying to go after DeAndre Ayton, it kind of almost would have been a cheat code. They bring in Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel, both from the Knicks. Burks in his, I believe, 12th year in the NBA. You know what you're getting out of him. You're getting essentially a poor man's TJ Warren, which also is a poor man's version of someone else in the league. So in terms of shooting guards, you get Alec Burks is definitely not the worst. And Nerlens Noel, while he's not going to amaze you with box score stats, he does a lot of really nice things on the court. One including shot blocking, rim protection.
Yeah, it's a really solid core to have on your team depth.
Yeah. Again, a lot of good things happening in that 4 and 5 position in Detroit right now. Yeah, I think this team at best is low 30s win team, but who knows? I do look for Cade Cunningham to have actually kind of a mini revenge tour this year. He was voted 3rd in the Rookie of the Year, and I know he and a lot of other people, especially around that Detroit camp, thought he should be in that top 2 and not number 2. I looked for Cade Cunningham to actually have a legit chip on his shoulder this year. I think he's going to raise hell in the league. I think his numbers will go up. He'll probably average something around like 24, 8, and 7. If I had to guess, he's not that far off. He's
I think
actually
aggressive, but I could see it.
He averaged 17 and a half, 5.6 assists, and 5.5 boards on 64 games played. I think if he has a full year, he's in that starting lineup. Obviously, I think just by nature, kind of how Brunson's numbers are probably going to go up by nature just because they're going to ask more of him. I think Detroit's going to ask more of Cade Cunningham in his second year. I mean, he's their guy. That's their focal point. That's the guy they're building around, and they're going to ask more of him. And I think he's going to deliver because, again, he's got all the reason in the world to deliver this year. One player I really want to touch on is Isaiah Stewart. Kind of reminds me of a Ben Wallace, undersized center, kind of no shit allowed type of player. If you're gonna jaw at me, I'm gonna jaw back at you, and hands might be thrown. He's an enforcer, virtually a walking double-double, shoots a high field goal percentage, and only in his third year in the league. So
I think a lot of what Detroit has going on right now is just bringing back like old school, like Detroit basketball.
Yeah. Lastly, on Detroit, we touched on Jaden Ivey, what they'll probably be looking for as far as his role in Detroit. I think he'll be one of those guys that can kind of just come in right away and do his thing. He was a second-team All-American in college last year, took a huge jump from his freshman year on to his second year. I believe his points per game went up like almost 7 or 8 from his rookie year to his sophomore year in Purdue. A case could have been made that he could have been Big Ten Player of the Year. I won't get into the weeds too far on that one. Johnny Davis won it from UW Wisconsin, so I won't say my 2 cents on that, but he's a star. Everything points to this guy having a successful career in the league. He models his game pretty clearly off of John Morant. The bounce is there, the size is there, the shot making's there, the court vision's there. I'm really excited to see what he does in Detroit in his rookie year. I think he could probably make a pretty strong case for rookie of the year considering how many minutes he's going to get.
Yeah, he should. Do you think he'll be the starting two come opening night?
Yeah, big time. There's not another guy on the roster. My starting lineup right now is Cunningham at the 1, Ivy at the 2, Sadiq at 3, which we got to give. This is our third Big East shout out, Sadiq Bey from Villanova. That dude can ball. Had a 50-point game this year. At the 4, Nerlens Noel, and then Isaiah Stewart starting at the 5. So I think he'll come in, start, play a ton of games, put up pretty damn good points per game, and really be a solid role on this young Detroit team. Moving on to Indiana. I know, Zerch, you covered them. There's probably not a ton. Yeah, there's probably not a ton to talk about. They're kind of.
Yeah. There's really not a lot to talk about. I would consider their offseason a fat L. Lost Malcolm Brogdon. That's 20 points a game. That's who was your starting point guard before. Obviously, Halliburton came in midway through the year last year. They re-signed Jalen Smith. I'm not familiar with his game, but they signed him on a 2-year deal, 13 points.
The center out of Maryland.
He's a 4, I think, technically.
Real,
but yes,
6'11", real scrawny dude.
Yeah, but I mean, 13 points a game, 7.5 boards, a block.
For Phoenix, right?
What?
For Phoenix?
He's been kind of a journeyman so far. I don't know where he came from, but he was on the team last year and he re-signed. So
Smith then.
Could be. I don't know. And then they drafted Benedict Mathurin, or however you pronounce his last name. Dude looks to be raw. He's kind of rowdy. saying that he could be. What did he say? He could be like the best player in the league or something like that, or he's like not worried about going up against LeBron James and stuff like that, which is
every player says that, and they all get
you love to see it.
tossed the other direction. It
is what it is.
You got to say that kind of shit.
Yeah, got to make yourself seem valid. So I get it. I mean, can't even do a top 7. There's 3 players that I think are on, or one player that's untouchable on this team right now, and it's Halliburton. I think in this year he put up 16 points a game, almost 5 boards, 8.5 assists.
Yeah,
I think next year he's going to take a huge leap. I think given the load that they're going to ask for him to carry, he's going to average 20 and 10 for sure.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be fun to watch next year. He was a lot of fun to watch in Sacramento. So it was really, I think like that entire situation was pretty bogus on how that went down with the trade at the deadline.
Yeah, that was kind of a shooting themselves in the foot kind of move that Sacramento is pretty notorious for. So
yeah, especially for telling him that like they had no interest in trading him or anything like that, and just being like,
yeah,
we're gonna bring in Sabonis, which I mean, no disrespect to Sabonis, he's cold, but like
I get it, but
not a good look for like a player that's so young
and so gifted.
Yeah,
so gifted. I'll say this: he whooped my ass when he was at Iowa State. We also got to give some love to him because, first of all, he's Oshkosh. He's a Wisconsin guy. So a little love, little praise to him. But yeah, when he was at Iowa State, he whooped the Hall's ass almost single-handedly.
I remember that. That was tough to watch.
Yeah.
I think he's the only one on that team who's untouchable for right now. The only other 2 players that are even remotely worth talking about right now are Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, and I think both of them could be used as trade bait in some way, shape, or form.
That's all I'm seeing them and their names synonymous with. So,
yeah, I don't know where Turner could end up. I mean, I've seen rumors all over, but I think Buddy Hield's most likely destination is probably the Lakers. But I mean, that's been rumored for 3 or 4 years now. Right. So if it didn't happen then, it ain't gonna happen now. So
see.
But I mean, past that, there's really nothing to discuss on Indiana. I think they'll unfortunately, you and I, but where we all discussed this earlier, that it's really hard to like envision them tanking and being like the worst team in the East.
Yeah. Yeah, we're so used to them being competitive and sort of middle of the pack and above middle of the pack when Paul George and that Roy Hibbert team was,
Romance Lance, baby.
We love some Lance Stevenson, which he also is on the Indiana roster again. So that's also a ton of fun.
I mean, with this roster, he could get a starting spot. Who the fuck knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? But I mean, past that, I think we can move on because I unfortunately think that given the strength behind the East right now, they're in contention for the 15 spot. So we don't need to sit here and talk about the worst team in the East. So.
Right, and it would be good for them. It would benefit them to tank. This might be a 1 in a million kind of year in Indiana where they do decide to tank, and they should. They don't have a lot of very high ceiling, nor are they going to win a lot of games. So you might as well just go all in on losing if that's your future.
Don't have a high ceiling, don't have a lot of draft picks, don't have a lot of cap space, not a big market. You might as well tank.
Might as well. All right. Moving on to Milwaukee. KZ, you had some stuff.
Oh boy. Do I ever. Let me just start with prefacing. Obviously, my basketball intellect doesn't go nearly as far back as your guys does. So, and just being more of a recent fan.
So Giannis is the oldest, you're saying?
We'll get there. But I'll say I'll be a Milwaukee Bucks supporter from now on, even if they have a 2013, 2014 season ahead of them once they trade Giannis. Another 15 winner.
He's a lifetimer. He's a lifetimer as far as I'm concerned. There's no way they get rid of him.
There's no way he leaves. I saw. Hold on. I'll let you do your thing.
Yeah, you get into it.
Let's just touch on this on the end. But for off-season signings. I'll start with the ones that I'm less impressed by, and then we'll kind of move up to ones that I'm more impressed by. We'll start with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, really, an off-the-bench player opted into a fourth season.
His name's not even worth saying, right? Doesn't even matter.
We're keeping it around to keep Giannis happy. But
on the payroll,
the ability to fill in on spots. So
exactly,
hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. Wesley Matthews, another 1-year dude that came back. Great defensive player. Other than that, someone who kind of was a bust last season. 5 points a game, nothing special, really.
We got to give a little bit of. Sorry to cut you off here, but we do got to give a little bit of love to Wesley Matthews, another Wisconsin guy. Actually, he went to Madison Memorial, I believe, and then played at Marquette. So another Wisconsin guy. Just got to show love. We love Wisconsin Hoopers. Keep going.
I think Milwaukee just expected for him to be like what PJ Tucker was, and he just didn't fill that.
Yeah, exactly. I think. Well, and then I'll talk about another one and then give my 2 cents. But Joe
Ingles from Utah.
Yeah. Just another playmaker outside of the big three, but is injured and isn't expected to really be back until playoffs.
Coming off an ACL, right?
If he's
Yep.
If he's 100%, what he could be great in the playoffs, and I think that's why we're bringing back Joe and Wesley is for a deep run. They're on 1-season contracts.
Yep.
Let's see if we can do it. If not, whatever. Then we look to bring in new guys next season.
100%.
Joe gets buckets. His game is smooth. Like
he's a good 3-point shooter. Yeah,
40% from 3. Plus, I believe in his best seasons in Utah, averaged above 6 assists a game. I believe he was in that 6 to 7 assists a game realm. I believe he was their primary ball handler and distributor. So
he plays like the old like white dads at the
rec league.
Yeah. That's the game in a nutshell.
He essentially is that though. He's an old white guy. So
if he's open, it's in. So
he'll force the defense to respect his shot, which will be good.
That's great for spacing
out. Yeah. And then we can go to I think this guy's a French guy, Marjan Boucamp. Yeah, I just picked him up. Brings a real young presence to the team. 7-foot wingspan. What we need him to do is hit his shots.
Yeah.
Like when he's open, you got to knock him down, basically. Could be a great addition to the perimeter, but we'll see about that. And then would force when teams decide to go small on the offense, it'll be a good replacement for like a Brook Lopez, where Brook's guarding a big guy, he can guard a smaller guy. So that'll be a really good thing. We brought back Pat for another 1-year deal. One of my personal favorites.
Man, right there.
The Great White Hope, as they call him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Miss Studio Girl.
He did do Milwaukee solid by re-signing, saving us a luxury tax. That's a possibility to stay long term, but he'll be one of those guys that I'll say needs to step it up. In my opinion, he's been in the league for like, this will be his 8th year, I think, and he's still just, you've won a championship. I think after your championship season, you kind of digressed. So to step it back up and be at that level that we saw him in the championship year, I think would be a really, really good part for Milwaukee. And then I guess we can go to the biggest signing, literally. Bobby Portis, a big 4 years, $49 million. It's almost unheard of that you hear teams spend $49 million on a backup 5, but
Bobby,
he is a huge piece of this team. So, and I will respect that it was a number 1 target for the Bucks this offseason. He's young too,
and
27 years old.
Yeah, I remember.
He looks like he's 127.
Right, he's got the crazy guys. I remember watching Maurice Spates come off the bench for Golden State in some of their finals runs and provide this just energy not only was he hitting shots, getting buckets, but this guy was getting boards, going straight to the crowd and hyping them up, Chris Bosh kind of stuff. Bobby Portis is that for Milwaukee. In their finals run, Bobby Portis provided a really, really important role where he kept the Bucks engaged, kept them in games, kept them their energy levels up.
Yeah, I mean, over the past two seasons, he's also been a almost 42% three-point shooter.
Solid.
Had 36 double-doubles. Like, I mean, he's produced. And
he's a good ass
mostly
player.
Off the bench stats, other than last season where when Brook Lopez got injured, he really stepped up, had a career season.
Yep.
When it comes to statistics. And then also, Brook's on his last year of his contract. So we could see a great replacement at a starting spot.
I was going to say, I get the sense that Brook is in his last year in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, he should be. He's showing signs of, I mean, he's 35 years old.
Aggression, can't stay healthy. They're going to look to get younger at that position.
And Bobby's a great replacement for that. But that's touching on my notable signings. I mean, Bobby, again, just needs to keep it up. Yeah. Top 7, I mean, where do we start, really? No particular order. We're going to go
starting 5, right?
Basically the same starting 5. Giannis, Chris, Drew, Brook if he's healthy, if not Bobby Portis. I think Grayson Allen is, if he can keep up a level that we saw him play at in the postseason, could be one of those dudes, really. But hey,
you can just
another white guy that hits threes. So, and then like Pat Connaughton again, a big if. Like we need those guys to step it up and be more than what they were, basically.
And so we already discussed it before, but I think all three of us are on the same page. Milwaukee should be contending again.
Milwaukee should be a top 3 team, no question.
Yeah. And they're kind of in that Boston realm where anything less is almost a failure, which I know that's a ton of pressure to put on a team, but they just won a championship 2 years ago. And a real strong argument could be made that they would have been competing for another one had Chris Middleton not gone out. So,
yeah, another game of ifs. But
yeah, I mean, NBA's full of ifs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Go back to that Nets point of if
they're around the toe on the 3-point line,
you know. Yeah.
Big ifs.
Yeah, Milwaukee will be interesting. I think if they stay again, a game of ifs. But if they stay healthy all year, I think they'll finish at like probably the 1 seed. They're the most solid team, top to bottom in the East.
Yeah, and
it's the East is theirs to lose. I think.
Got it. And
I was really
go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Giannis last year proved to us you can't stop him. He's taken that ascent that LeBron took. The ascent that Giannis took was, I now know how to win playoff games, and there's really nothing you can do to stop me. Boston saw that. They got lucky that Tatum put up that game 6 that he put up, because the entire league was expecting Milwaukee to win that game 6. And Giannis basically showed us that he is capable of putting a team on his back, winning the series single-handedly. And you just add Chris Middleton, a healthy Chris Middleton in that mix, who's their number 1 option for late game shot taking. You just got to think that Milwaukee is going to be just as good as they were in that 2020-2021 season. And they'll look to contend, and anything short of Eastern Conference Finals is almost a failure.
Yeah, I think they're going to also come back. I mean, not that this would have anything to do with like possible injuries or anything like that, but just come back with like a vengeance of knowing what we could have done and how we could have run it back. So I think they're going to use that and really motivate themselves to make that push. They play a little smarter and stuff like that.
I mean, they
rest their guys when they need, although that's a
they figured that portion out.
Topic.
They figured that portion out. Obviously, in those stretches of years where Milwaukee was losing to Toronto every year. Basically, all the years that they were going to the playoffs and they were the number 1 seed before 2019. They did not have that figured out. But at this point, Bud understands that you need to rest players in the regular season. You need to have guys fresh, ready to go for playoffs. And I just think Milwaukee, they're ready. As you said, they're basically like, we know what we could have been last year. Middleton doesn't go down, and we're against the Golden State in the finals, because you can't really look at that Boston series and say Boston was that much better, because you put Chris Middleton into the mix and Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's clearly a better team.
It's a completely different series if Chris Middleton plays in 4 out of the 7 games. Like, exactly. As much as I hate to say it, like, Chris Middleton didn't need to play at all against the Bulls.
He did. Yeah.
But
Giannis, you're not, as a head coach, you're not going to not play your best player.
You're not going to not play your second best player like that.
Also, you're not anticipating an injury. You're thinking we're warming up for the next game, or like the next series. You know, like, let this guy get into his rhythm, and goes down with an injury, and you're like, shit. Like, well, who could have thought?
Anything else you want to touch on as far as Milwaukee goes?
I mean, not particularly. I think I'm just going to throw out a prediction on wins this season. I think I'm going to go with a 55-plus win season. You know, that'll be my last point. I think
that's pretty realistic.
Going back to a vengeance tour.
Yeah.
I think we're going to come out and we're going to do something this season. So that's where I'll leave my thoughts on it, really.
Cool. Yeah, the only thing I had on Milwaukee, this one is inevitable. This will actually be the first of 2 loads blown over Seton Hall players. I just want to give a shout out to a former Seton Hall legend, former Big East Player of the Year, and also was voted 2021's New Jersey's most eligible bachelor, Sandro Mamukelishvili, also known as Mamu. In his senior campaign as the Big East Player of the Year, averaged 17.5 points, 3.2 assists, and about 7.5 rebounds. He's a point forward, shoots right around 40% from 3. In the games he played, 41 games he played, he was on a 2-way. So the other 41, he played for the Wisconsin Herd, located in Oshkosh. Actually showed great minutes. Had a couple of really, really nice outings. Definitely still a work in progress, especially on the defensive end. But offensively, I mean, he moves well with and without the ball. He's a really good screener and a really good screen and roller. Can also, be a great pick and pop kind of power forward center. Really, really smooth shooting stroke. An actual, all biases aside, actually a great, intriguing young player for this Milwaukee Bucks. Hopefully he gets a jump in his minutes.
He's using the floor really well for a big man too. Like, I mean, going back to like what he was doing at the Hall in his like senior season, like the dude can drop dimes. Like he has really good court vision, and he for a 4 or a 5 that like has the ability to like see that and execute on those like pass opportunities is huge. And I think that's like a big reason as to like why he didn't get a ton of minutes last year, but he got minutes in garbage time, which is a lot more than, Giannis's brother doing, like.
Right. Yeah. And I will preface all of this with, we're all Seton Hall fans. These two by extension of myself. we all watch a ton of Seton Hall basketball. We watched a ton of Mamu at Seton Hall, and we got to kind of see his development as a player. And his senior year, he was doing things on the court that you just don't see power forwards and centers doing in basketball, let alone college basketball. Step back, 35-foot threes, like guy can play. And in stretches of last year, he showed that entirely. His best game that I could pull out was actually the game, I believe it was with like 5 or 6 games left in the season. When Milwaukee was resting a lot of their starters, he got the start and in 42 minutes dropped 28, 4, and 13. Went 4 of 9 from 3 and about 10 of 18 from the field. The guy can play. I think he's going to get a lot more minutes next year, and he could be a serious piece on any team, whether that's in Milwaukee.
I would just hope that would be Milwaukee.
We all would. Yeah. For personal reasons, we all would.
Even a Bulls uniform.
And skill reasons. I mean, if he can continue to show what he's shown in the minutes he played last year and replicate that to hopefully more minutes this year,
right,
we're going to have a great player on our hands.
Right. And that's more depth at the 4 that Milwaukee needs. So, and I also got to give a shout out to our boy KZ. Not only is this his first app, but he got me a Mamu jersey for my birthday, and I'm really appreciative of that. So, thank you for that.
Make me blush. Well, you all can't see it, but I'm blushing right now.
We're all big Mamu fans here. As far as Milwaukee goes, that's it. So we'll do some trivia and we'll wrap this bad boy up. The first trivia question, this one should be just pretty much a straight down the middle softball pitch here. You guys should both easily get this. The Lakers and the Celtics both have 17 championships. What are the next 3 winningest franchise?
Oh shit, dude. Golden State, Chicago. The last one's the question mark.
Kyle?
I'm gonna say Houston. Philly.
Nope.
The Knicks?
Nope. More recent.
San Antonio?
Yes, sir. San Antonio with 5 to round out that.
That won 5 with TD. I should have jumped off of that one.
Yeah. And then the second question, it's going to be the same rules as last week's player trivia. I'm going to give you guys in order the teams that this player played for. It's going to be a star. I can give you a hint, but only one. So they're in order. So starting with the team he was drafted by: Golden State Warriors, Washington Wizards, Orlando Magic, and then the Memphis Grizzlies.
Oh,
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint outside of the hint I was going to give you. Mid-2000s player. So
my guess was going to be Iguodala, but you threw me off because he's back on Golden State.
Yeah. Golden State's not the team I would necessarily focus on if I were you.
Who are the 2 in the middle?
So the order is Golden State, Washington, Orlando, and Memphis. And then the Shanghai team, but we don't have to talk about them.
Oh.
I got nothing.
Oh.
It's all you, Big Kyle.
Oh, you know what? The Shanghai team might just I might just be being an idiot. No, never mind. The guy I was thinking of, I think, ended his career in New York.
You want me to give you the other hint?
Yeah.
Something involved with a gun in the locker room.
Oh, Gilbert Arenas.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
I could have said he played the bulk of his like prime years in Washington, but I didn't think that was going to be as funny as bringing up the gun in the locker room situation. So
Gun in the locker room gave it away. That's for sure.
I should have led with that. So yeah, there you have it. That's the Central Division breakdown. Thanks for tuning in again this week. Next week we'll finish off the East and then we'll move into the West. Boys, this has been a blast.
Always will be.
Always will be. Look forward to doing this again next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.